Hi everyone, I'm Kristen. Welcome and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about money and books and how much money in particular I spent reading this year. This is something that I think is not necessarily talked about on booktube very often. I think channels do an okay job talking about consumerism in general at large, and I definitely have seen a trend since my time starting on booktube as well as just like watching booktube. I feel like I have seen a trend of booktubers more and more discussing the fact that they are getting some books through the library or through alternative means in order to do their reading. And I do think that is really valuable because I do think it is important to acknowledge that money is being spent to read the amount of books that many booktubers are reading, and that everyone is going to have different budgets that they can put towards reading at large. I have generally become more of a library-based reader, especially in the past couple of years. Less and less of my household budget is put towards books. So I do want to share what I spent reading this year overall. I have done a video like this in the past, and it's something that I would like to continue each year moving forward. In the past, I did have like a 1 book per month kind of range in terms of like actually buying a book, and that has not really been a thing the last couple years, in that I have not actually really been buying that many books at all. And that leads me to my first sort of like entry point in terms of expenditures this year, and that is how much money did I spend buying books, whether that is an ebook or a physical book. And the answer to this one is $0. I have not purchased like outright an ebook or a physical book this year whatsoever. So starting off really strong here. You're gonna see this is gonna go a little bit downhill as we get more into the video. At this point in my life and financial situation, I do not have extra money in my budget to be buying books. I do generally, the past few years, try only to purchase books that I have already read and know that I love and would like a copy. There are a couple authors that are going to be auto-buy authors for me. They just haven't been an auto purchase this year. That is probably going to change next year, but we'll see how things go. So starting out of the gates, $0 spent buying books to own this year. One of the ways then that I do get access to books is through my Everend subscription. I don't remember when they changed from Scribd to Everend, but if you have heard of Scribd before or Everend, the book element of Scribd has recently become Everend, and this is a subscription-based service that gives you access to the books that it has available to you with some restraints on your reading. But however, largely if they have a copy of this book, you can read it while you maintain the subscription. So these are not books that I own. I only ever have access to the books as long as Everend has a copy of them, and however long I pay for the subscription. So that costs me $11.24 Canadian. I am going to convert this to US once I do the monthly summer as well, but per month access to these books costs me $11.24 Canadian dollars. I typically have my subscription available all year long, but this year I did take a couple breaks. I was able to put it on pause. So I put it on pause for about 12 weeks in the summer and fall, and I have put it on pause now again. So overall, I was charged this subscription only 8 times in the course of 2024 for a total of $89.92 Canadian or $63.43 US dollars. I actually did not keep track of where I read certain books this year. That was a statistic that I did not include, so I can't really analyze whether or not this was worth it for me this year. It's not that terrible in terms of like overall expenditures. It's, you know, a couple hardcovers, so I don't mind paying this amount, especially now that I have like feel more emboldened to put this subscription on pause when I need it. If I don't have any books that I'm planning to read at Everend, I can put it on pause for 4, 8, or 12 weeks, I think. So that is actually really, really freeing to me, like to have that knowledge. Something like I hadn't thought about it before, but it feels really, really freeing to know that that is available to me. So I feel a lot better about this ongoing subscription because I can like fine tune and play with it. And next year I am going to keep track a little bit more regularly with where I am reading books to just always feed into how I'm spending my money. I also started a Kindle Unlimited subscription this year as well to get more access to books that are exclusively available on Kindle Unlimited, a lot of the indie and self-pub books. I have had Kindle available over the course of November and into December. November was the part of the free trial, so I didn't pay for that. But as of the beginning of December, I am in fact paying for my Kindle Unlimited subscription now, and that was $9.99 Canadian per month, or $7.05 US. And so adding that to the already existing $63.43 for my Everend subscription, that is $70.48, or let's say about $71 US that I am spending every year in order to access books that I don't actually own, or can't really get access to outside of these ways. That is a little bit high in order to get access to books that you don't own, but neither do you own the videos or movies that you watch with Netflix. That is a similar, I think Netflix might be more money, kind of a concept and range for being able to consume a piece of media once or as many times as you would like to while you continue paying that subscription. So I don't think it's terrible, but again, something that I'm going to keep track of next year as I pay attention to where I am reading. I also talked recently in one of my wrap-up videos that essentially how I'm going to approach my Everend and Kindle subscriptions for the foreseeable future is to rotate, actually, from not necessarily month to month, but maybe 2 or 3 months with one, put that one on pause, do the other one for a while, so that I'm not paying ever any I'm not doubling up on them, and then just arrange my reading accordingly so that I have a couple months where I'm primarily reading Kindle Unlimited books, and then a couple months where I use that time to read books that I have available to me through Everend. So I think that is a very reasonable amount of spending, at least for me for the time being, and something that I can always reassess in the future. Now you might be thinking, okay, $70 for the year. That's not bad. She's primarily a library reader. She said she didn't buy any books this year. And we've already talked about the 2 subscriptions that she primarily has access to and uses. And normally that would be correct. However, I made a little bit of a mistake this year. At some point this year, I took out a physical book from my library. And it was right before we were leaving on holiday to travel to Canada. And in the days leading up to that, my partner was on a work trip. So I was solo parenting with the baby and the dog. And I had already renewed this copy of this book, and I didn't manage to get to the library to take it back with the assumption that I would be able to renew it once more. Alas, in the time from that first renewal to the second renewal, somebody requested the book from the library. And at this point, I was in Canada and not able to take my book sitting on my bedside table back to the library here in Copenhagen. So let's just say I made a bit of a library fumble this year in terms of fees and paying those fees in a timely fashion that accrued a certain amount of debt that I recently discovered and had to pay in order to continue accessing this library that I don't actually access all that often. And that has left me paying more for books this year than I would have intended. So rather than give you that number, because I find it a little bit embarrassing how much money I spent on this library fee, I'm instead going to put it in reference for you in terms of the physical books that I could have purchased for this amount of library fee instead. Going with the new releases in order that I read them this year, I could have purchased the hardcover of Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I also could have purchased the hardcover of A Fate Inked in Blood. On top of that, I could have gotten Bride in paperback by Ali Hazelwood. And ironically enough, because the physical book that I had was the book that wouldn't burn, I also could have bought the brand new release hardcover for The Book That Broke the World by Mark Lawrence. So there we have it, folks. That is how much my library fee was this year. So not really coming out ahead in 2024. This is obviously not what I hoped out of how much money I spent on books, on reading this year, but mistakes were made and lessons were learned, and I'm going to be paying a little bit of more careful attention to, obviously, Danish reminders from my notifications, etc., as well as just where and how I'm getting access to books leading into 2025. Let me know, is there a range, is a guesstimate? Do you have a budget that you tend to put towards books, or is it just like what feels right in the moment? This is the start of my end of the year content, so stay tuned in the coming weeks to see more end of the year style wrap up type things for this year overall, and I will see you in my next video. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.